Hi there, my name is Dawson. I am currently a PhD student here at Keele in sociology, but I have been at Keele for quite some time now. I did my undergrad degree here and my MRes. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what it's like to be a student here at Keele in sociology specifically. And I also want to show you a little snippet of some of the teaching that I do here at Keele as well. But before I get started, I did just want to talk a little bit about this quote that I've put on the screen. So this is from a sociologist called Pierre Bourdieu. And as you can see, he says that the difficulty in sociology is to manage to think in a completely astonished and disconcerted way about the things you thought you had always understood. And I really like this quote. I think it really brings together what it's like to study sociology. It really brings out what you learn as a sociology student, and sort of the type of thinking that sociology can really open up to us as well. Um, so now I'm just going to talk a little bit about my own personal experience as a student here at Keele. So I just want to talk about my own personal experience as a undergraduate in sociology. So I've just put up on this slide some of the things that I've published just on the internet about my experience. So you can see here there's a quick snippet from a blog post that I wrote when I graduated from my undergraduate degree. I've also just popped a tweet on there that I put out there last year, I think, and this was on A-level results day. And then there's just a quick picture of me on my graduation day with my dog. Uh, so I just want to talk then a little bit about what it was actually like to study sociology at Keele. As you can see as well on the screen, I was actually a sociology and history student, but I did my dissertation in sociology and went on to do my master's in social research as well. Um, and so I just wanted to talk about the type of skills that I learned then and the type of learning that took place here at Keele. So I always felt like at Keele I was able to almost customize my learning and make it quite individual. And what I mean by that is that when I found something quite interesting, which for me was gender through sort of time and in history, this is what I research now. This was really encouraged by Keele in the sense that I could actually take modules from different subjects, even if they weren't sociology or history. So I was able to take modules in criminology, for instance. I did quite a few criminology modules because I just found that quite interesting. So that was really encouraged. So you don't sort of have to kind of stick quite rigid to what you have perhaps chosen your degree, and you can branch out and learn other skills and learn other types of knowledge as well. And because of that ability to customize my learning to do what I found interesting, I found that I was constantly quite passionate about what I was doing and really interested as well because it was something that I wanted to do. And like I said, that's really kind of encouraged here because of sort of the flexibility that we have with our dual honours system. Um, so yeah, it meant that every module that I did, I was able to customize it and to read and write up on sort of what I wanted to do as well. And so, like I said, that sort of a creative approach is encouraged, and we like our students to obviously stay inspired and do what they want to do. Um, so yeah, that's definitely encouraged here, and that was something that I feel that even now I sort of reap the benefits of because I was able to really learn about what I wanted to do, which is now what I do. Uh, so for me, that's a real benefit of sociology at Keele. But in general, I think as well, our sociology students, they learn a lot of skills. And skills, particularly, like I mentioned on the first slide, just this ability to see the world in a completely different way, and to analyze the world, and to also communicate that as well. So our students are always pushed to, um, we always try to develop their ability to communicate. This can be through, our formal assessments like essay writing and things like that, but also just one-to-one in tutorials, in group activities. We really push that students learn to sort of communicate their ideas, and it's really nice. And now as a teacher that I get to see sort of students come in as fresh as first years, and then I get to watch them sort of really develop and be able to communicate their ideas to me, and sort of what they're passionate about. And I just want to show that to you in a quick snippet on the next slide. So I've just taken a short activity from one of my tutorials that I conducted last year. And I just want to show you then that example in action, the way that we encourage this sociological view in our students. We encourage their ability to communicate, their knowledge, their analytical tools as well. So I'll just jump to the next slide and show you what we do. Here is something that I showed my students when we were exploring gender and sort of the philosophies of gender and theories of gender. And in the tutorial, I wanted to apply all that knowledge that they learned in the lecture with me and get them to really analyze something and get it into an everyday example. So not just knowing about sort of different theories and having lots of knowledge, being able to apply that knowledge and being able to communicate it and see it in the world around you as well. So as you can see, I grabbed these screenshots from the Disney Store website last year when I did this tutorial. And as you can see, on the one side there is a section that I took from, this was when I was browsing the girls department, and this little advert came up when I was looking in the girls department, and it was a link to some toys. And it says, "Born to be cute, discover our adorable new Disney baby soft toys." So the link sent me to those little cuddly toys that you see there, and that was in the girls department. Then when I went into the boys department and I was just browsing around in there, there was a similar link, but that took you to these Toy Story 4 talking action figures, and as you can see, the little line below it says, "The perfect gift for little adventurers." So I showed this to my students. I didn't really say anything. I just said, from what you've learned, how would you explain this? What does this show? And they came up with some really, really interesting analysis. So they said that basically one of the first sort of visual things that they picked up from this was that there was a girl presented in the boys advert, but only one girl in the girls advert. Now, a lot of people might say, okay, so maybe that's not that big of a deal. But for my sociology students and everything that they picked up and the theories that they'd learned, they were able to really analyze this. And they actually came out and said that this shows something really interesting about gender, because it shows that perhaps it's slightly more acceptable for a girl to engage in more masculine activities, like you can see in this advert, but perhaps it's not as acceptable for a boy to engage in more feminine activities, like these feminine toys. And they'd actually learnt that as a part of one of their theories, but they were able to apply it to these children and to this one advert. And then they continued this, and they started to say that you can see this in the everyday world, and especially in the way that our job market is separated into masculine and feminine types of jobs. So they said that obviously in this girls section you can see that there's kind of this nurturing kind of femininity that's encouraged here, this kind of caring feature is represented, versus this much more kind of adventurous type of boys advert. And what they said is that you can see this in job roles, in that obviously women take up much more nurturing roles. They talked about things like nursing, like flight attendants are a lot of the time women, versus perhaps firefighters are much more, especially stereotypically, men, and pilots as well. And we even talked about kind of the jokes around sort of, male nurses and female pilots that exist in our culture, because perhaps these people are breaking a stereotype. So as you can see, my students were able to take one advert and show that the way that children are encouraged to perhaps play with certain toys and express certain masculine and feminine identities, this actually relates to the wider world, and impacts us quite heavily. It impacts the type of job we do, which a lot of people would say, our jobs are a big part of our identity and who we are as people. And so that gender actually impacts our lives quite a lot. So I was really impressed with my students here. I thought they really, really showed the way that sociologists learn how to see the world in a slightly different way, rather than perhaps saying, well, maybe women, prefer to be nurses and flight attendants, and maybe men just prefer to be pilots and firefighters. They went much more beyond that. They really analysed it. They really took on a lot of their knowledge here, and they were able to express something really, really interesting. So this is something here we really like to encourage in our students, this ability to, as you can see, they not only communicated their knowledge really well to me, they had a lot of knowledge to communicate to me as well. They analysed this so well. They're such good analysts in our department. That's something that we really, really encourage. Um, and of course, they were able to apply this to the world, which is quite a hard skill, but something that we really encourage in our sociology students. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this has given you an idea of what it's like to be a sociology student, the type of activities you will engage in or be encouraged to engage in, and the type of things you might be able to learn. So thank you very much, and I hope that was informative.